So I'll
difference.
tell a funny story. So I actually have improved quite a bit, and it's funny. Like Andy and Mike cringe when I say this, but like I've come a long way. I used to be a lot worse in every single way.
Nope. I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
Welcome to Racing with Class. Andy, Jay, and Aaron. Andy has had a very eventful few days. A lot going on with Racing with Class team, and I've got a surprise for you if you stick through this entire episode, because I got text something from Mr. Andy Seiss, and if he is watching this right now, he is actively chuckling because he knows what I'm going to show Andy and that it's hilarious. So, and the fact you look confused is going to make this even more fun for everyone watching. Before we get into that, what's going on? What's going on with the Racing with Class team?
So the Racing with Class team, we've taken on a friend. We have a fellow competitor, Glenn Reen, is in the shop, and they are getting a car ready for Glenn Reen to go to Lime Rock, and it's going to race under the KLAS Motorsports banner. So there'll be a KLAS Motorsports 73 out there being helped prepared by Andy and Mike down at the shop. They've been busy boys down there. It was sort of a sister car to our road course car. It came from the same race team, the Ted Marsh race team, which is, where we got our lovely sponsors Wheelan from. Thank you very much, Wheelan. And so I got my first road course car from Ted Marsh, and then Glenn Reen is a race car driver, and he's kind of trying to do something similar, and he went and got the other one. So if there's anyone that knows how to get a Ted Marsh road course car put together, it would be Andy and Mike at this point. So they were tapped to help out with that, and Glenn's going to be racing in Lime Rock, and he's going to run under our team banner. So we will have a KLAS Motorsports 73 to cheer for. Different driver, but that's okay.
Other than that, you have been very busy on racetracks. How many races have you run in the last few days?
Well, we haven't gotten to, because we keep getting rained out and just stuff keeps going on here. But the plan was to run 7 races in 6 days. We ran the two at Holland, and then we had a couple days off. We were attempting to go to Seekonk, Massachusetts on Wednesday, and then I'm racing 3 different cars in one day at Lancaster on Thursday, and I'm gonna race Friday with the Bad Banana. I think that's 7 in 6 days. I don't know. Maybe I can't count. It might be 6. I don't know. Whatever. The weather for Seacog looks a little iffy, and that's like a 500-mile drive. So by the time you're watching this, we're gonna wait and see. So the weather for Lancaster also looks a little iffy. So if something, I don't think that I would take, because the rain day for Seekonk is Thursday. So I don't think if the weather were iffy, I would take the chance on going up there and buying the tires and getting stuck, because obviously Lancaster's our home track, and we want to support our home track. And we're going to attempt to do it with the same car too. So it's kind of risky either way. So probably going to have to be a pretty much perfect weather scenario for to keep with that plan. But Seekonk has some rain in the forecast. Lancaster looks a little better, but also could have some rain. So those things change from day to day. So if Seekonk got really good and someone told me for sure Lancaster wasn't going to happen, we'd probably be pretty aggressive going to Seekonk, and vice versa. If Seekonk looks bad and Lancaster looks good, I think, Lancaster realistically, we're working on the modified. That's where we've been so busy since I've been home. Just grinding on that thing, just getting everything ready. We got Turkey Derby there a little bit last year, so things were crunched. So we had to cut bars off and replace bars, and just general updates and things, and making stuff look as pretty as I know how to make it, which still isn't that pretty, but I do have there's a low bar. Like I'm not here's the Andy and Mike Dayton bar, and there is an Andy J bar. It's not the Andy and Mike Dayton bar, but it's a bar. There is a standard that must be, that I must respect myself when I go to the racetrack. So it'll be, they'd be a little cringy at it, but as long as It's almost like I feel like I would just have to feel like I tried. Like if I feel
There
like
you
I
go.
tried and it looks okay, I'm like, yeah, but I actually see pictures because I was rattle cannon because all my cars are rattle can paint just because I just don't have time. But they come out good. The blue car, the red car, they're all Rust-Oleum and
Special.
yeah, they hold up. The one we won with over the weekend that I painted that car in 2019 with Painter's Touch paint. And we touch it up a little bit here and there, but it's good stuff. And I don't have to worry about ordering vinyl when I smash it. I just go
There you go.
to the store and give them $5 more, and I get another can of paint.
I mean, listen, it's old school racing. I mean, that's what that's your whole thing. You're just an old school racer.
Yeah, we try to build efficiency into it, but there's probably a cheapness aspect to it too. But I don't know. I order 3 or 4 of every sticker I need and some spray paint. And the problem is like the turnaround can be so short on some of these short track races. Like sometimes we race on Friday and we gotta wreck it and fix it for Saturday. So what vinyl guys answering the phone Saturday, so you just do what you do. And if worst comes to worst, there's always duct tape.
And you know what? When you're going fast, nobody can tell the difference. It doesn't matter. Nobody can tell the
So I'll
difference.
tell a funny story. So I actually have improved quite a bit, and it's funny. Like Andy and Mike cringe when I say this, but like I've come a long way. I used to be a lot worse in every single way. Like I was difficult. Um, but one of the things was this I only thing I ever cared about was winning. Like I didn't care what it looked like if the tires held air and like I could make the thing go fast. Like I would sit there, I would cut down bolts, I would do everything I could to make that race car go faster, but I did not give two shits what the thing looked like. It was those cars. Like if you look at my Facebook banner, it's black spray paint with gold glitter spray paint. There's a silver duct tape 57X on it. And we didn't have any sponsors back then. So we taped a Maleficent poster to the back and it stayed on there the entire season. And there's a picture of me like with doing the checkered flag victory lap with the flag sticking out. It's like gold, black, and then the whole interior was pink spray paint. It was hideous. With just a silver one row 57X Maleficent poster, just the checkered flag. Like, yep. So I'll tell you a funny story. So one of my friends that helped me out through the years still helps me out a ton. I borrow his car every time I go to North Carolina. I'm like Tico. He was racing pretty actively, and he wanted to try racing the Sportsman. So there was a couple weekends I was going to be out of town, and I'm like, yeah, let's you could race the Sportsman. And it worked out that I committed to him for something, and then something came up where I could be there, so I was just there crew chiefing. So I'm watching my car go around the track, whatever, and bummed I'm not out there. So a friend comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, I noticed you're not driving. Will you run my car in the heat race? I'm trying to figure out a handling problem." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." So I end up being in a heat race with my own car. And so I'm
Your
out there and I'm wearing my tires up and I'm looking at my car go around the racetrack, just under caution. I'm just staring at this thing, right? I'm just watching this race car just, weave around the racetrack and then we go racing and I'm just staring at my race car. It was like the weirdest thing. And I come in and I go to the guys and I'm like, "Guys, why didn't you tell me that what a piece of shit that thing looks like out there? The wheels are all going like this. The body panels are flapping. There's duct tape falling off it. And Uncle Jake's all like, we told you it looks like shit." I'm like, "I didn't know it looked that bad. Like, why didn't someone say anything?" So it was like my funny story. I'm like, all right.
Like, all right, I need to raise my bar a little bit, at least. All right, let's get into some Cup news because there is some Cup news to talk about. We're all Earnhardt fans on this podcast. We want to give a big shout out Dale Jr. getting a win as a crew chief at the Xfinity level. I kind of got a little choked up in my throat. I was like, he's filling in. Yeah, obviously, if you're not familiar, Junior Motorsports, they're trying to put a Cup team together, but they've been at the Xfinity level for a couple of years and stepped in to fill in for crew chief and got a win. That just made me feel good.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know why.
that's good for the Hall of Fame resume, but he's already in, so I guess he didn't really need it. So I guess it's just for fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, it was fun, and he looked as shocked as anyone else. I loved that Junior has kind of this, like, resting face of, like, shock a lot, and he kinda had this look of like, "Hey, I can't believe we just did that. That's awesome."
Yep.
So, that was good for Xfinity, probably brought a lot of eyeballs to that race that may or may not have, watched it. And then, Sunday, Pocono, Chase Briscoe, wins. Our guy Denny Hamlin led for most of the race, but finished second at Pocono. But the big story is 2311. Riley finished 37th, Bubba finished 36th, crashing, and Tyler Reddick had to go to the garage briefly during the race for an issue. Ended up sitting at 32nd for the race. And then William Byron 27th. Just 2311, rough weekend. What are those like as a team when, like, I mean, I know you guys have been through that where you just you're like nothing's going right. Like, how do you, especially with a race that's long, like cup races are, do you just sit there frustrated the entire time, like this is not our day?
Yeah, no, you're just waiting to get home, and you want to get on that couch and kind of reset and pretend it never happened, and then next week's a whole brand new week. But you know, it it kind of comes with it too, in a way. I think we all had weeks like that, and then the reality is at this level, you're gonna lose a lot more, and you're gonna win. I don't care how good you are. Richard Petty lost more times than he won, so um, so you're gonna have weekends like that, but um. It's tough at the cup level though. Certainly especially for a team like that, I'm sure the pressure is just so incredibly high. And, um, especially like even like Riley and Bubba, just watching Reddick probably running, a tick better probably most of the time there too. So it's gotta be tough on everybody. And, I think when you have that many people involved, you expect to go to the track and perform. So it's tough to come up short. So, um, there's a lot of layers to it at this level when you got that many people invested into it, and there's a lot of people to answer to too. So, apparently they need to look at Denny's notebook.
Something from Denny, for sure. And, they've already got a lot of eyeballs on them because they're, 2311 in the middle of a lawsuit with, NASCAR. And then you have a rough weekend. So got a lot of eyeballs, rough weekend. Um, I do love, maybe it's just race car drivers, maybe more than other drivers. You guys are able to just kind of like just unplug and go, all right, next race. Whereas it doesn't seem like there is a lot of carryover. Is it just because you're sitting in that car that long that you get time to process it and get mad and then get over it by the time you get out of the car?
Well, I think there's different situations, right? There's hopeless situations and there's situations with a lot of upside, and I think anybody sitting in a 2311 car knows that, on a given week they could be in the hunt for a win with the equipment they have, So I think as a driver, you gotta stay positive and you gotta stay focused. Now, the flip side, there's guys, you look at guys in the Xfinity level and that, where the money gap is probably bigger, I would say. Yeah, it's always there, but I think that there's more guys at the Xfinity level that are, probably a little further from winning than probably most of the cup field. But, you know, if you're one of those teams kind of going to the racetrack with, 20th to 30th place speed every week and you kind of know you're going to be stuck there and you go to you got a track like Bristol coming up where you're probably going to be getting you got to worry about getting lapped every once in a while and there's probably a whole different level of anxiety week to week from that versus being on a team with you know better equipment where you might have to get through this week but you probably have a good week coming up. But in the same breath, I think when you do have a bad week with that kind of equipment, there's also, more people to answer to and more people, more stress and more anxiety. So, it's part of racing at this level, and it's probably true of any sport. If you're not swinging the bat well, you're gonna be on the bench soon, or you're gonna be in the minors. So you always got that stress for sure. But probably the same with any sport too.
So we haven't talked since we put out an episode about the first Carson Hocevar Ricky Stenhouse incident, and then as soon as we got that episode dropped, I thought, "Oh, well, this will be over." It's not. Have your feelings changed on Carson? I'm more kind of looking at it as like he kind of might be a dick.
I think he's driving around in that Dale Earnhardt truck pretending to, think about being somebody. I don't know, he's sticking in the headlines. I'd say he's probably fine as long as he keeps backing it up on the racetrack with good results. If he had a couple good weeks there, obviously. So if he starts to peter off a little bit, which I doubt he will, he's obviously got something figured out. So um, it becomes less tasteful. I think someone like Ricky Stenhouse, who on a good days, fighting for 10th to 15th, this is probably great for him and headlines and sponsors. And, I think we're all playing the media game now at this point. It just kind of is what it is. So, if you're not up there, winning a race every few weeks, you gotta think of something. So probably great for Stenhouse. And in looking back on it, I mean, realistically, he had a chance at a pretty decent run in Mexico City, and it's a team that doesn't have a lot of decent runs. And Carson Hocevar is down a lap and gets into him for whatever reason. Maybe it was an accident. I don't know, kind of bizarre, but like I'd be fucking pissed. You're fighting for your job. We talk about all the pressure and all that. Like, think about a guy like Ricky Stenhouse, like William Byron, if he got fired tomorrow, which he never would, like, he'd have a ride at 3 different teams. Like, Ricky Stenhouse probably is, he's a good driver, but I mean, he wouldn't be 2500. But, if you realistically think about it, like, if he were to exit that team, unless the right opportunity, I mean, it's not a guarantee that he'd have a ride the next
Right.
time the merry-go-round starts up, So, for him to lose an opportunity to have a good run and solidify his place in the team, like, yeah, I'd be pissed. I'd be frustrated. All that stress we talk about, all that anxiety, that's going to come out, towards the person that is disrupting your clan. And that is apparently Carson Hocevar lately. So yeah, I'd be pissed. And, if NASCAR is going to let it happen to a certain degree, then, I mean, Stenhouse is probably better at fighting than, most of them.
I mean, I thought it was hilarious. Of course they caught it on the mic. He went right up to the car, and I believed him when he said, "If when we get back on American soil, I'm gonna punch you in the mouth." I thought, Hocevar, the fact they're in Mexico is probably the only reason Ricky doesn't just haul off and sock him in the face.
Yeah.
I think I think they probably told the guys in meetings, "Hey, this is not American soil. The laws are different.
Hmm.
You can't just punch each other." And I will give Ricky this credit. Given his previous track record, I think he showed a little of self-restraint because I think he had every intention of, if we were anywhere else, if we were back home, 100% I would have broke your nose.
You end up in Mexican jail, like Trump's trying to get you out for like the next like 10 years. Some like dirt floor fucking.
Or and Ricky's driving that Hulk Hogan American Beer Company car. I mean, I'm thinking, "Oh, man." The second he started going over to when he started walking to the car, I thought, "What are the laws in Mexico? Can is he are the police gonna arrest Ricky Stenhouse if he punches him?" And then when he said, when we're on American soil, I'm gonna punch you in the face," I thought, "All right, Ricky, there we go. Show a little self-restraint."
Nah, I don't know. It's like when we race in Jersey, all the troopers are walking around. The troopers do their inspections. Like, you actually, like, they check your seatbelt dates. Or like I know when I go to Jersey, don't fight. I'm sure it's, Mexico's a lot worse than that. But, Jersey's like, that state, like, you just kind of know, like, don't fight. Someone's gonna show you who's boss here real quick. And yeah, no, I'm sure they didn't want want a situation like that. And, realistically, if you really start breaking down the X's and O's of it, like, what if he punched him and something happened? What if that's the time that someone actually got messed up? Then you got all sorts of, because you're in their country. Whatever happens in their country, you follow their laws. So I don't know how that works. And NASCAR probably didn't want to study that handbook, so that was an easy fix. Like, hey, don't fight.
Yeah, we need to
I
get
don't,
enough
I don't know how this
international.
works. Don't do it.
Yeah, we got enough international incidents without a headline NASCAR driver locked up in Mexico City jail. So, but hey, it's good for the sport. People are like, oh, I don't. This is good for the sport. The fact that these two guys are going back and forth, it is good for the sport because we talk about it all the time. We keep talking about the same 10 cars every week at the cup level. Well, last couple of weeks we've been talking about two guys who have struggled. So it's good for the sport either way. All right. Before I get you out of here, our boy Andy Sy sent me something, and I'll read you the exact text that came in with it because I want to quote him correctly. Do with this information what you please. So he sent me a picture of a very young Andy J. A very young Andy J. You want to walk us through this picture here?
Man, I thought we had like some cool, like we're going to Dover or something. Oh. That is me and my mom in 2007. That was my second full year in the street stocks. Buffalo News, our local newspaper company, ran a story on me, and that was the picture. That shirt's sitting right over there. It still fits. Yeah, it's in my laundry basket. I seen it not that long ago. Yeah, I'm still about the same skinny. So that's my mom in the back. So that was our street stock. We won it was owned by my uncle Bob Drewer. So I was racing go-karts, and a friend of mine had an old street stock. It was sitting outside, and he said if I could figure out how to get to the racetrack, I could borrow it. And I was like 2005. I was 17. I had a tow dolly, and I went to the track with 6 different people towing the race car all year, whoever I could get to drag that thing to the racetrack. And we did pretty good. So my uncle Bob helped me build this street stock. And that year we won everything. We won Lancaster Championship, won a Perry Championship. We won the Oswego Race of Champions. And then we actually took it to New Jersey, and we won the Turkey Derby with it too. But that was in the middle of that year. So that was my last year in the street stocks. And man, those are good times. That was when I think back on the most fun I ever had. So those cars were DOT tires. The Class Act, that car still is out there every week. Actually, it's black and gold. It's got a Dale Earnhardt number 3 on it. It raced at Lancaster this weekend. So, that car got shuffled around. I ended up driving for a team in the Sportsman. The year after this, I got a ride, and that guy bought that street stock for his grandson, and then my cousin Matt had it, and it got shipped around. But that was always a really good card. But yeah, that was my last year in the street stock. So that thing, the DOT tires, non-lock differential, so they're one wheel peelers. They just got like a stock rear end in them, and we had about 40 cars every week. Just absolute insanity. So they would handicap these features, so the best you could, like if you won the week before, they would qualify like 6 out of the heat races. So you had, I think it was 15 or 20 laps, and you'd start 18th. And they put this, everyone that could finish top 6 in a heat got into the handicap thing, and everyone else was behind them. So you'd have, like a mid-pack car starting first, and you'd have the fastest car starting 16th, 17th, 18th. And it was like this dash to the front, me and the other fast cars would be weaving, and just so much fun. Man, we had fun with that. But yeah, we won 6 features that year at Lancaster. I won 4 at Perry. They only had 4 races at Perry. Won all 4 at Perry. We won the race champions Oswego. Won Turkey Derby. Won 12 races that car that year. So that was those were the good old days. Open trailers, hang out with Uncle Bob, and not a care in the world, but winning races and having fun. And that was That was so much fun. We towed that car to the track with an open trailer and a 70 Chevy pickup truck. And we were out there. We're kind of, you know, we weren't winning yet. We were still kind of figuring stuff out. And a guy came over, said we had the wrong exhaust manifold on it. And he told my uncle what we needed. And my uncle Bob, he's a prominent Buffalo lawyer, but like a car guy, just super cool dude. And he's like, oh, well, hang on. So he goes and he opens the hood on the 70 Chevy and he points to the manifold. He's like, is that the manifold we need? The guy's like, yeah, that's the one. So we took the exhaust manifold off of the truck, put it on the race car, put the one from the race car on the truck. We flip-flopped them. So the car would go fast. That was like one of the ways we picked up. But yeah, just so much fun.
Look at your mom looks just so proud in this picture. Like that's the first thing I
It
noticed.
is the strangest picture of her. I don't really remember her having bangs like that. It must have been like very briefly, but yeah, I mean she had bangs, but she's got a lot of hair going on back there. So, um, but yeah, no, that was her. You know, I think she looks about the same if you cut her hair back there a little bit. She don't look any different today. So, um, but yeah, that's at so that car actually lived outside at Trey Hoddick's shop, and that was the guy I just drove the Super for. We just reunited. So Trey was a friend of my dad's, and you know, always helped me out growing up. But that's at the Trey Hoddick shop. The trailer behind us is not ours. That's Trey Hoddick's late model trailer. We're the open trailer sitting out back behind it. And yeah, those are the glory days. That's when, you know, I did winning that street stock race at Lancaster. You know, I was driving like Richard Childress. It was in the grandstands, taking notes, you know, trying to find his dude. Um, you know, that was my first time really going out there with a winning car and having a chance to go do that stuff. And uh, it's just crazy. And as you can see, it's got the little 73 on it, and that's the number we carry at KLAS Motorsports today. And you know, that just means the world to me that Kevin and Andy allow me to, you know, continue that tradition that we started all the way back then. That's, you know, that's one of the coolest things that, you know, for my part, you know, I always thought it was so cool when when David Rudiman or Stuart Friesen, you know, they carried their numbers all the way to those higher levels of racing. And, you know, whenever you see, you know, these guys, you know, at the cup level, you always show pictures of late models is always a different number. And then they drive for their, you know, their race team, and the race team has an identity and they have a number. So, it was always really hard to have your number, you know, at that top level. So, for KLAS Motorsports to allow us to carry on the tradition of the 73 that started with my uncle Tommy Drewer and my dad Tony J, you know, that just means the world to me. So, it's cool, really cool. So,
Well, we'll dig up more pictures and more stories over the next couple of weeks. I really like that, and I love the Blink 182 hair. You and I are close enough to the same age that I was like, oh, I had that hair too at one point in my life.
yeah, my girlfriend said it was Limp Bizkit hair. Yeah,
Same. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Hey, a lot of gotta be glued. Gotta be glued was the way we all got that hair to stay there.
Yeah. Yeah, she was making fun of me. I just texted her back. I'm like, yeah, well, you were 10 when that photo got taken, so
All right. Next week on the show, we'll discuss a little more Cup news. See how Andy fares in his a lot of racing coming up over the next few days. And appreciate you tuning in.
2 for 2 so far on the week, so we'll see.
2 for 2 if you're tracking. We'll see how the racing finishes out. All right, brother. I'll see you next week.